I'm very fascinated with, and because I'm trying to build a community, an at-will community for people to work on things like grief. And grief is a tough one because grief comes in so many forms. It can be the childhood trauma. It could be something the parents. It could be trauma from a really bad place, some kind of abuse at the hands of a family member or relative or neighbor or something like that. And it could also be then the trauma of parents screwing you up. And then as we grow older, we have relationship trauma. Relationship trauma can come from even our early school years, right? And you get into the peer pressure of middle school, high school. I've had I'm on my third wife. That should speak volumes. There's trauma associated with those first marriages, without a doubt. So, all these things come up. In terms of dealing with something like, I did not have a horrible childhood by any stretch, but I also didn't have we were a very true middle class family. And my father worked very long hours. He was in automobile sales for a good portion of time until automobile sales really went into the toilet in the late 70s into the 80s. And he made a good living until he didn't make a good living. But he was still gone a lot. So from the standpoint of my childhood and having a lot of memories with my father, I don't have a lot of great memories. We didn't take a lot of time one-on-one. We didn't take family vacations. And then put on top of that, alcoholism. That was something that had already been prevalent on my father's side of the family. And then that rears its head, and that has consequences to their marriage and to the kids in the house. And so that creates, a level of trauma that was difficult, very difficult at that time. And some of it was because I was a rather mature teenager, and my older brothers were away. And on occasion, when my father was overserved, he would find me and start talking to me about woe is me and how bad his life was. And I'm a kid going, and in my head, I'm going, what I don't want to have this conversation. I'm just trying to be a teenager and deal with this idea that I'm going to go away to college. And now, I really want to go because of this ugliness that's happening at home. And then my parents ultimately, they split when I was 18. So, that's you look at that and I go, well, in terms of a father figure, my father was largely AWOL for me. And because of that, I looked to other people in my life as mentors or just looked up to other neighbors. I grew up in a really incredible neighborhood, incredible experiences, fun, crazy stuff, really wild stuff that could not be repeated today. People would be locked up, and it was very fun. And I love that aspect of my childhood. Fast forward to trying to heal from the grief and working on that. I made a connection in the last couple of weeks. I did a post about, on Friday afternoon. I love music, and I had a playlist that I call Thank God It's Friday. And it's all sorts of rock and heavy metal anthems from my youth, and I love that playlist. And the question is, what does music represent to you? And how fun would it be if we made a playlist for kind of key moments in our life, and wrote the soundtrack of our life? What songs would be there? And music has always been there for me. And I finally made a connection, though, that where did I get that from? And I got that from my father. And so it's it's early memories of my father. We had this big console stereo that you saw in the 60s and 70s. They were pieces of furniture, and it had big speakers on each side, and then it had the wood top you lift up, and the turntable was in there. And my dad had Glenn Campbell, Elvis Presley. He loved movies, so he had like Henry Mancini, some of the movie theme music. I remember some Crystal Gale, Jerry Rafferty. A lot of my brothers, we laugh about that. Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, kind of a great old song. And then my dad kind of leaned in on some of the music that my older brothers were bringing into the house. And so music was just something that my dad loved. And yeah, I have that same love. And I it's that moment where you go, oh, he had to be a father at a time that was pretty unique. Well, it can't be repeated. He had to use the tools he had. His father had been passed away when he was, I should actually know that, but I think my father had to be in his 30s or 40s when my grandpa died. And I never met him. And then my father passed away when I was in my early 30s. So he's been out of my life for a long time. It's been 24 years. And it's kind of like, how much more do I want to nail this man to the cross? He's not been here for 24 years. And then you just get to that point where you go, no. It wasn't the greatest. He wasn't Father Knows Best, but I'm good. And that was that moment where you just go, yeah, I'm good. I don't necessarily need to talk about my childhood or my dad was this or my dad was that. Yeah, it's a story maybe for an appropriate discussion, but it's no reason. There's no connection to that relationship and that which I need to do or I need to get on with in my life. I'm not going to be a prisoner of that thought or idea that grief should hold me hostage or keep me in the curb lane. No. I want to get back on the road, and I got places to go. And, kind of that inner voice where you just go, yeah, I'm good. It's okay. It's pretty freeing when you have those moments. And again, somebody on the outside may say, well, did you just say that your dad died 24 years ago and you're just figuring this shit out now? Yeah, that's how it works. I think that's how life works, is things work or work themselves out on their own time frame. And and then there's different degrees of that. There's huge degrees of that because there are things. I was reading a friend's post who lost her husband 15 years ago. I'm assuming in Iraq. And you just go, wow. How do you deal with that? How do you put one foot in front of the other when you lose a spouse, or God forbid, as a parent, you lose a child. Those are grief on an entirely different level. And for some reason, I'm drawn to people that are grieving. I've been around a few people who have lost and had kind of horrific moments in their life, and one was somebody who had lost a child. Actually, two people who lost children, and I was one of the people that really wanted to be around them, to have the discussion with them, and really ask the question, how are you? Not, oh, how you, not with trepidation where you walk up and go, oh God, you don't even want to ask. Most people don't. So that's what they do, is they stay away. And that blows people away when they're going through grief. One of the things that adds to the grief is not the people that are there. They're amazed by the people that aren't there. They just go, wow, where was so-and-so? Well, because they don't want to ask that question, how are you doing? Because they know you're doing horrible, and they don't know how to answer that. And for some reason, I'm very comfortable asking people, how are you doing? And what can I do to help you talk about it, reminisce about it? I wouldn't even use the word heal, because I think that's disingenuous to suggest that I can have that as a goal to fix anybody. I mean, that's absurd. We don't fix one another. We have to pick and choose our moments of how we can support people who are in the middle of fixing themselves, and we can be integrated into that process. And that's what I've tried to do with people that are in grieving situations. And I think, as much as I want your people, your place to be about some fun stuff, like I was thinking the other day, I've been told, you wouldn't know that from this conversation, that I can be pretty funny. I can be pretty crude funny. And since we are a private community, why on earth can we not have a comedy group? And we could be doing Zooms, and eventually, as we grow this membership and we have live meetings, we could have comedy night one night, or before a dinner, we could have a comedy open mic where members can come on and give it their shot and do some fun things. But between that, there are some serious things that I definitely want to bring to the community, and grief is one of them, because it's just tough, and there are so many people that are grieving. And again, there's a lot of people that their way of, when they see a grieving person, is to did I send them a card? Yes. Did we go to the funeral? Yes. All right, I checked those two off. That's good. I'll see them when they're more smiley and happy and back to themselves, and then I'll pretend that never happened. Well, I think that's crazy. I think it's a missed opportunity to make a real human connection, and at a time when people really need it, to talk about their grief. And I definitely rather be part of the process than, because I think being able to talk about your grief is definitely a part of, you have to be able to voice it if you're gonna slay that dragon and put it and go into recovery from a situation. You really have got to have some good support, or just be incredibly strong-willed to say, well, enough is enough. And I love it when you hear stories of that. There are people that, I guess, have had watershed moments, and they just, go, yeah, I'm done with that. Or, I know people who had drinking problems for 20, 30 years, and then all of a sudden, just one day, they stop, or they smoke for 30 years and then they stop. It's like, oh, wow, yeah. How did you do that? Did you take a course? Are you wearing a patch? Are you going to, no, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think grief is very elusive. There is no, there's stages of grief, but that's great. That comes out of a textbook, but how we actually process that and go through that, God only knows.